Workspace. We're excited to have you for our second of 5 Business Link programs. Workspace is owned and operated by the town of Manchester, Connecticut. We're right here in the center of downtown, and we are a co-working meeting gallery space. Our main mission here is to support entrepreneurial growth because we're an art gallery that includes artists who are trying to make their living doing what they love. And around us is the exhibit called Unboxed, where we asked artists to create work from repurposed packaging. So behind us, much of this work was created with cardboard. We have an oil drum, because somebody said, can I bring art on an oil drum? And since technically an oil drum is a package for oil, we said yes. And this is one of our exhibits that is open to anybody of all ages. So we have children's artwork in here as well. Upstairs we have private offices, we have collaborative co-working space, and throughout the building we have 7 meeting spaces, including the gallery, which is our largest. And we have 2 seminar rooms that hold around 30, give or take, and then 4 conference rooms from 2 to 20 people. So we're very excited to have Highland Park here as our guest because they're actually a sponsor of our meeting spaces, and they have been a sponsor since we opened as Workspace in 2018. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
The purpose of the Business Link is to hear a story of a successful, and in this case, iconic business in Manchester. And not only do they have multiple markets throughout Connecticut, they're really involved in the community and giving back, from the Chamber of Commerce to building houses to children's support. So we're going to ask you about that in addition to the more traditional business aspects. And also how you got Manchester represented on a internationally successful TV show. That's fun. Fun to talk about. So first, why don't you introduce yourselves, and then we want to hear your origin story, and then we will move on, and eventually you all can ask questions.
Okay.
Great.
Do you want to go first? Okay. I'm Molly Devaney. I am the second child of Tim and Mary Pat Devaney, who my dad, the business was my grandfather's business. And we somehow grew up in the business, and it was one of those things that our dad always told us, you don't have to stay here, you don't have to stay here.
I'm just going to disclosure. Okay. For the kids at home.
And Tim would tell you I never need a microphone.
Yes, I know.
But one of the things that I think, well, Tim and I, it's in your blood, the grocery industry. It's one of those things that we are passionate about because from day one when we were born, it's all about customer service. And I think that was one of the things that was ingrained in us through not only our father, but our mother as well, because she is one of those people that is behind my father, and she's one of the most compassionate people that always looks out for others. And I think that's what our business translates into, is just, what do our customers want? How can we take care of our community? It's our whole business model is, doing things for others and putting others before ourselves. That was the message that our grandfather taught us years ago, and it was a message that our parents, handed down to us. Tim and I actually went to grad school together. Before we came back to work at the store full time, we went to school at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia and attended. Tim went for undergrad, and then they had a master's program. Like, oh, I'll come down with you and go, because at that point I had taken a job at Harvard University, and I was working there in the grad department. And there was something that you saw the passion that these students had, and it really had me do a deep dive in myself. And I was meeting with this career person, and they said to me, well, if grocery is what you're excited about, and family and business, what is holding you back from going back to your family business? And I said, I don't know. I think I had to go out on my own and know that I could make it on my own before I came back to work for our family business. And it was one of those things that I just was like, I'm ready. So after 4 years of living and having fun in Boston with my sister, it was time to get ready for grad school. So that's, Tim and I had a conversation, and we enrolled in the St. Joseph's University, the Hop School of Business, the food marketing program. So we had the privilege of getting to go to grad school together. So it was one of those, best decisions of my life.
So, as Molly said, I'm her brother Tim. I am number 5 in the lineup. There's 6 of us, and 5 of the 6 kids actually work at the business. My father also had 6 kids in his family, so we keep coming from big families. I have 2, and I'm done. No way I can do 6. So they're going to have to figure out how to run it down the road. But yeah, like Molly said, we're the 3rd generation. We're actually the 3rd generation of the 3rd family to run Highland Park Market. It started back in 1886, just a little post office / general store. My grandfather purchased it in the early 50s, and then it's been expanded on since then. And it's just, my father would say, yeah, you guys don't have to come back, but if you do, we have a space for you at home. We'll get you started right away. So he really wanted us back. He really wants a family around all the time. And we have, we're kind of like a cult, our family. Most days we're working together 6 days, and then the 7th day we have a family dinner together. So we spend a lot of time around each other, and it works. A lot of 3rd generations don't survive. Yeah, we have days where we don't see eye to eye, but we hash those things out, and we figure out what's best for the organization. So that really, the fact that we have the same goal of being successful is really what makes us survive, and knowing what we do well. My father, he worked very hard. He worked many years, many hours throughout those years, and he'd be the first to tell you he wasn't a great businessman, and but he got by being a nice guy and doing the right thing, and he always did it, and that always seemed to pay out for him. So if people tell you last guys finish last, or nice guys finish last, it's absolutely wrong. And he did whatever he could. He fought hard to make sure that we could all go to college. All 6 of his kids went to college, and we all have degrees. More than half of us have postgraduate degrees. So he did that for us, and gave us the tools to make sure that we could run a successful business, and we're doing that right now because of him. So we're very lucky to have him come before us and pave the way. And our grandfather before that, we're known to be Highland Park Market with the big things that we're known for: quality service and quality products. And the 3rd thing is being a partner in the community. And that's what my grandfather used to say. He used to say, the grocery business, it's not going to get you rich, but it's going to you'll be able to provide for your family, and you'll be able to provide for the community. So, and that's what we've held on to, and that's what we do. And you don't go to a community event where you don't see Molly Devaney there. Yeah, sometimes you see John or I there, and people say, "Where's Molly?" So, but it's a huge part of why we're still here. So that's just a big part of what we're going to do. And it might not. It doesn't necessarily bring dollars in the door and help the business there, but we believe it does, and it's really helped us to be who we are and keep our identity. But we've grown, and we've kind of contracted a little bit. We had a store other side of town, just over the line into South Windsor, which we had to close down. We had to sell off a store up in Suffield, which there were times where we just had to make those decisions to make sure that the other stores could survive well. But right now we're a pretty solid company, and I'd say we're pretty happy to be working with each other, and we have a really good staff. There's struggles every single day. People over the last couple of years, everybody I'm sure has heard it and experienced it, that finding the right type of worker to work in the right spot, or even the number of workers to staff your location has been tough. But we've survived. We've gotten through that, and right now we're in a pretty good place.
Excellent. And you mentioned something about maybe the community work doesn't bring in dollars, but I know I grew up walking distance from Highland Park. It's a far walk, but walking distance from Highland Park, and there is something about the feel in there as opposed to other larger grocery stores. And you're going to pay a little bit more for some products. You have fabulous sales though, but you're willing to do it because you want to support you and then the people you hire. So you probably have staff, especially baggers, that you don't necessarily need, because people don't expect help getting their groceries to the car. But that's such an extra. I love that exchange with those people at the register, and they walk with such a smile. So can you say a little bit more about your hiring practice and staff?
Go ahead, you can take that one.
Well, if your parents shop there, you get a job there. That's number one. No, we do. We have a lot of part-time staff, and it's a lot of people come to us for their first job, and so we're a little overstaffed on the front end especially, and we feel kind of obligated to keep that up. And we have stories of people coming and to us 20, 30 years later talking about their first job, and people coming back into town and coming directly to Highland Park because that was where they worked in the first job. It's a lot of great stories there, and it builds up that feel. And but yeah, the hiring it's been a struggle the past couple of years. We go out there and we look for when we do have turnover, which we have typically less than the average grocery store. We have one employee who's going to hit 50 years this year. It's one of our meat cutters in Manchester. So, and we have multiple people in the 30s, and a lot of people over the 25-year mark. We do a holiday party. We have to do it before the holidays because it gets too crazy for us. So we do that in October every year, and we invite all of our full-timers and then part-time staff who have been with us for at least 10 years. And that 10-year mark, there was a lot of people in that. So it was we had a huge party this year with everybody who was there. But we try and treat them right and keep them, make sure people want to come to work. We do give them that quality of life. Yeah, work in retail, it can be brutal at times. There's no doubt about it, and it's not always the most attractive, but it's very rewarding. And if you treat them right, they stick around. So that's kind of how we go about our hiring and keeping people these days. And yeah, like I said, if your parents shop there, they come in, or Molly gets phone calls all the time. Yeah, I don't know. Ken's turning 16 next month. You gotta give him a job. So yeah, so that happens all the time.
Yeah, 3 times yesterday.
So if we can flash back for a second, how did the store, do you know the story, I'm assuming, go from one store to a second, and then?
So my grandfather back was very smart in the way he did business. He had 6 kids, and he's like, okay, so I think I'm gonna open this Coventry store, and this store is gonna be able to allow my Aunt Mary and her family to grow and develop and be able to live on their own and have something that's theirs to grow. So that was really how our Coventry store opened. That was my grandfather doing that. My dad, being the best person he is, yep, no problem, Dad, I'll go out there, start it, get it running. And so he was one of the reasons why today it's so successful, is because he was one of the people that I think really got to get out there and get that store going, create a community out in Coventry, and then helped my uncle get that going. And it's.
I'm assuming at the time Coventry was just a field.
Yeah, not much out there.
So so that must have been a nice center point for local agriculture as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's one of the things, you talk about being a little bit more high priced. Well, we pay for a lot of local stuff, and that's something that is really important to us. We want to make sure, last year Botticello's Farms got hit. Like anytime that there's something that we can do, well, we always buy from Botticello's forever. They're corn and different items we source directly from them, because we believe in keeping our locals going. We want to keep our locals going. Tammy, I'm very excited about the talk about getting Silk City coffee beans in our stores. It's going to be something that, again, all about local. Anytime we can support the local agriculture, my siblings allow me to sit on the Department of Ag's Food Policy Council because we believe in the mission of Connecticut Grown. And I think that's something with Connecticut Grown businesses as well. We truly believe in anything we can do and buy local. We'll pay a little bit more for it because we're supporting our local state and local farmers. And it's just.
And you can taste the difference. I generally will bring steak home, and when it's you guys, I have a boyfriend who cooks it, he's like, this is really good. As opposed to, just random steak, which is good. But he's like, this is really good. He's like, where'd you get it? So it's always Highland Park. But I do want to give a shout out to Tammy Gerhardt, who is here from Silk City Coffee, our neighbors up the street, who are sponsoring this event. So thank you to Tammy for the Silk City Coffee this morning. And Highland Park brought some pastries. So if you're watching this at home, you'll have to go get your own. Or join us the first Tuesday. We're doing this program the first Tuesday for 5 months this year, 2024, and Silk City was featured the first, Highland Park. Now, next month in April will be Thomas's Smoky Pit Stop Soul Food. So they will be here, and I think we'll have cornbread for breakfast, so that'll be nice. All right, back to Highland Park. So you opened the Coventry store, and then what came next?
Then my dad took over the stores, and he wanted to grow, so we went out to Glastonbury. Again, surrounding towns are great because you have a lot of crossover between people that, not only that though, but it also provides growth and development for our current employees to be able to go out there to run stores on their, who you've been kind of coaching and guiding. So it's great to see that grow and develop and have that store open. But that was really, my dad, when he took over, he's the one that really kind of said, we've got to grow this business if we want to keep it going. And, again, it was his push that really allowed us to grow Glastonbury, and then we did Farmington, and then we did Suffield. But it was, those things being able, we were able to, when Glastonbury opened, I was not able to work yet, but when Farmington opened, I was able to, be one of the first employees out there. But we definitely had to work a lot at first when we first opened stores, just because, you get hit right away. And it's just a lot of fun to be there to spread the culture and understand the difference between what it is walking into a Highland Park. We're not just a grocery store. We're, your community store where you can come into, and this is our focus, and really spread that message and pass that to our employees. I think that's the biggest thing, is having presence of one of us echoing what we are all the time, and that's it, having employees that do the same thing as well.
So people who are watching this, because you're growing your own business, so what you just spoke to was the pipeline of succession, as well. And I don't know, how old are your kids?
8 and 10.
Yeah, so it's also the same thing. You can do whatever you want, but come here. Is that like yeah. And then there's also the corporate culture. So how do you maintain that sense of quality as you're expanding?
So, well, the number one thing that I'll say is you have to meet as, we meet once a week, right? Monday at 10 a.m., that's our time. We sit down as siblings and kind of go over, okay, this is what's going on. Because there has to be a pulse of us agreeing to what's going on, because talking to each other and communication is key, like the number one thing. And then you stay in your lane, right? Everybody's got their job. You stay in your lane. Like if you want to jump into Tim's lane, hey, I want to talk to you about this. But your job is, I'm in charge of donations. Nobody's going to make a decision on donations except for me within our stores, except for Tim will be like, hey, so-and-so came in about this donation. You might want to do this one. So, you kind of communicate constantly. We sit down, like I said, that once a week thing. And, Tim will, go over some of the IT stuff that's going on. John will go over some of the perishable stuff going on. We always are constantly, you have to communicate. And I think that's been, sometimes. And then that's where you get the fighting out, right? Not fighting, but but you get a more sense of understanding of each other when you sit down and know what's going on. Because there's nothing worse than hearing about something and not hearing it from the right person. I think that's in anything that we do in life. So I think the number one thing is communication. So if John's telling us, okay, hey, we went to CAB this week and we looked at X, Y, and Z. We all taste tested this. And that's the thing that we do, is we meet with our vendors. We take our teams there. We go to Bell & Evans Chicken. We're on the bus ride to Bell & Evans, and it's that 6-hour ride to Pennsylvania, and you're on this bus. And I don't know, Christine and I, the last time we went down, we both sat on the tire seat. So we're sitting there on the tire seat for 6 hours, and I couldn't wait to get off that bus. But the most important thing that you can do is bring your employees to the vendors that you're buying from, because then they understand, they taste the product, they do tastings there, they see what it is, and they taste the difference. And that was one of the things that my dad said when we had new hires that came in. We sat them down and said, you're eating our Foley fish. You're going to understand why this scallop tastes way better than any other scallop. It is, and then we bring people to Foley Fish School. We do those things that are sometimes people don't do, because it's so important to educate the person as much as possible about what it is that we're selling. It's expensive. Yes, our fish and our seafood is expensive, but there's not a better tasting seafood that's out there. And we feel that way about all the product lines that we carry in our stores.
And I think Tammy last month mentioned that too, the being in your lane, having people who know what they're going to do, communicating also, but then, because you have to empower people with their strengths and also give them veto power.
Yep. Because
that's their area. Otherwise you could be arguing forever.
Right.
So tell us a little bit more about your specialty overseeing the organization.
So my specialty, I oversee the IT, because I was the only Devaney who could turn a computer on, so that got dumped onto me. But that's something kind of just throughout the years, last 20-something years where I just kind of organically grew my knowledge on that, and it's a big part of what we do, because we scan everything at the register, everything in the departments goes onto a scale, so you got to make sure all of those things are involved. That, and I also oversee the store managers and make sure that they're following all policies. So we have we do our meeting on Mondays, and then we have on Thursdays we have a weekly store manager meeting where everybody calls in, and we tried to do it years ago and have everybody come, but it gets tough to pull the guys out of the stores. So with technology, we now have Teams meetings and pull it right up on screen, and then we can share the screen and go over the numbers from the previous week. It helps us keep an eye on payroll, helps us keep an eye on making sure policies are being followed. We get to pull up and look at time cards, make sure people are taking breaks and doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And when you can actually put that stuff in front of people, it's a lot easier for them to follow through on what they're supposed to be doing. So that's a lot of what I do is oversee those guys, and I'm there for, I joke around that I'm just sitting in my chair waiting for the next person to come in with whatever fire they need to be put out, because that's what grocery stores are, constantly. Just when you're dealing with tens of thousands of people per week, you're just waiting for the next issue to pop up. But and our guys are great, and they work a lot of hours, and they work very hard for us, and we're very fortunate to have the crew that we do and our leadership. But there's a lot of things that they need guidance to. Learning how to communicate with today's workforce is something that we've really been working on and focusing on over this past year, because COVID did a lot, and for a lot of industries it wasn't great. For the grocery industry, it brought in a lot of sales, but it also kind of turned everything around, and the whole labor market changed, and the priorities of your workers coming in changed. And we have to learn how to communicate with people, and the generations that have come over the past 5-10 years. We have people who, about a year ago, we kind of sat everybody down and we talked, and it was right down here.
I was gonna say, do a plug for Stacy. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah, no, we try to do once a month, at least once a quarter. We have a big meeting here, get everybody off site, and it helps us to because when you're in the store, you get all of a sudden people walking in the room and wanting you to deal with something else. But when we can come down here and actually sit and talk to each other and really focus on what we need to work on, it helps us out a lot. So this space is phenomenal. But we came down here a year ago, had a whole agenda planned, and I threw it out, and we just started throwing up ideas on the wall. I just flat out said, what do you guys think the problem with today's workforce is? And they threw it all up there, and then we went back, and the next question was, well, let's look at ourselves. What's the problem with ourselves? And we saw kind of a lot of similarities, and we really kind of talked that through, and we figured out, well, how do we make all these connections? And then we've been in workshops that we've run with our group over the past year. Every month we've been really pushing our leadership. How do we connect with today's workforce, because it is different, and you can't just be an old grumpy guy saying people don't work the same they used to. No, it's different. It's not the same at all. It's not worse, it's different, and until we can kind of crack that thinking that it's just different and we need to do things differently, then we weren't really helping ourselves. But over this past year, I feel like our crew has really made some strides in how they're communicating with today's workforce and really understanding what today's workforce is and what those struggles are, and they've really done a lot of people. And we've had one store manager who's been with us for almost 40 years, and he's actually shown more growth over the past year than he has throughout decades before. So once you really start working on those things, then he's actually got a better way in communicating with his staff these days. So.
Very cool. So in terms of growth, how do you navigate going from a country market to a modernized store and change? I know that recently, not that recently, but you made a lot more room for prepared foods. So is there a lot of market research there, just talking to customers? And I know you're doing some sort of renovations in the Glastonbury store? Is that for more frozen foods? How do you?
Yeah, so that, I mean, you said it. The market research is in our stores these days. You ask the customers and you take the feedback from them. Yeah, we can look at trends and see what's out there in industry magazines and studies and all that, but it's really what's selling and what are people asking for, and you try it out. And being the small guy, we can make those changes and we can make them quickly, and we can try something, and if it doesn't work, you stop it. It's not like being the big guy where you have to go through all the channels, and so you put a whole bunch of money and time into something and you're going to try and force it to work. No, you can't force things on the customers. You need to give them what they want, and then it sells. So that's really kind of how we expanded that whole section. And for years, we kept saying, we are not doing anything packaged. We will never package a sandwich. That's not us. We do it, you come in, you ask for it, and we'll give you exactly what you asked for. And guess what? A lot of people want to come in and have the grab and go. So we didn't get rid of anything there, but we added on a little section where you can come in, a pre-made sandwich, you can come in and you grab it. We still use the same quality of products. We leave it out there for a very short period of time, so the quality of the product stays there. But it's meeting a market that is already in the stores and they just want it. Because if you walk into Manchester at lunchtime, it could be 30 customers deep, and some people don't have time for that. So we had to adapt there and give them something that they were looking for. We have a short little meat case on the side, and we said, we're not doing packaged meat. Well, no, we're just going to do it the Highland Park way. So we didn't take anything out of our service meat. You can get absolutely everything that you've always been able to get, but we do have a couple of items just for convenience for the grab and go for the customers who are our customers, but they need to have something like that. So when we adapt these things, we adapt it in a way that we can't take anything. We're never going to take anything away from a customer, but we will add something on. And there's one thing that I'd said for years and years and years, and we had a lot of discussion in our meetings. We actually put self-checkout units in one of our locations. We will never do it in Manchester because we'd have to take something away to be able to put it in, and we're not going to do that. We use all 6 lanes of Manchester all the time, so we're not going to take away a service of people going out there and what they're used to. But in our Farmington location, we had 2 registers that weren't used. We never used them, and barely on the holiday times did we even use them. So we took those out and we put in a 4 unit, and we didn't take any services away. We didn't cut the hour, and people think we're crazy. Well, you're supposed to put them in, cut the hours, and it's supposed to be a cost saving. We added it on as a service, so it's an add-on service for our customers. Some people don't want to. They just want to come in, and they don't want people to touch their groceries, especially since COVID happened. They want less people touching things, so they like those. They get used a little bit. They take out some of the spikes in business. Some people are used to them elsewhere, but we continue to run those other 4 lanes all day long. So the way we do things, we have to continue to know who we are and be who we are. So we can't cut something back. We can add stuff on, but we can't take it away from the customer, because customers come to us for what they're used to and what they want, and we're not going to take something away from them in order for us to try something new.
Excellent. So we're going to open it up for questions, but I just want to reiterate some of the things we've learned. Like, know who you are, communicate, have a pipeline where you empower your employees to take on more responsibility, and it builds loyalty and quality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good lessons. Questions? Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Gladys Ortiz. I live in town and I have a business, and I have a 2-part question. I don't frequent your store often, but I do because you guys carry Munster's chocolate, so I appreciate that. Even though I live close to the factory, I'm like, no, I'll just go to Highland and then I just focus on what I want to get. But I was recently in there with my soon-to-be 16-year-old. Not a plug for her to work. I just figured I'd say it. But she said to me, which was eye-opening because I've lived in town. I'm a graduate from Manchester High. And she said, Ma, I think this is the first time I've seen a colored person at Highland Park Market. And I was like, what? And so I didn't, but it was interesting. So my question is, because I told her I was coming, and she's like, can you ask Molly, what they do for DEI, and not just checking off a box, but actually seeing it and living it. She goes, every time I've come here, and again, 16 years in my home, it's the only home she's known, and again, we're there probably at least once a month, and she was like, this is the first time. And as a teenager in the high school, it was eye-opening for her, and I was like, oh, that's interesting that was her perspective. So she wanted me to ask that. And then also the second part is social media, right? How do you navigate, because we are evolving, right, as a society, and how do you guys leverage that in your marketing?
So just to repeat the question for the video in case they couldn't hear it, what efforts do you make for diversity, equity, inclusion, and then social media?
Okay.
Two small topics.
Yeah, two small topics. We can talk forever on that. Our workforce has completely changed, and our customer base has over the last few years. So if you walked into Highland Park Market, you know, I think like primarily our workforce has completely changed. We have, I think if you walked in the afternoon, we have a lot of diversity in our workforce. If you come and check our thing, you would notice that. I think the product mix has changed too. We've had different things that people, I think once they realize in the sense that they can ask for different things at Highland Park, we'll carry them. We carry what our customers want. You know, our product line, I'm very good friends with a guy from Goya, so we spend a lot of time together. And I think that just even getting those products, for a long time we weren't allowed to purchase those products because, not allowed, but we couldn't carry. We had to bring in 7 to 6 pallets of Goya to get into our store. We could not take on 7 pallets of Goya, and we have no room. Like if you see our store, we have no room for storage. So for us, it was a really, you know, tough thing. Now all of a sudden they're doing business with more people and we can buy from different distributors. So it wasn't like Goya was doing direct with everybody, right? So that's just one product line that I think of because my boyfriend's from Puerto Rico and we spend a lot of time eating ethnic food. I think that one of the biggest things is that, you know, people, it's a challenge to us day in and day out of people that want to work. It's coming and experiencing our culture, and once people do, they want to be part of the Highland Park family. And that's the thing that we do is we treat everybody like family, so they're continuing to come in to be part of the Highland Park family. I think that, you know, I don't know, when I think about diversity, I'm like, my God, you should really come to all our stores and see like our makeup, because it's not the white girl with blonde hair anymore. We are so much more across the board in all our stores. So I would love for her to come in. If you come in after 3 o'clock, there's maybe 2 white girls that are on our registers, which I need to say, I'm not trying to be, but, and I think we have to think about it in another way too. If you come during the day, our workforce up front is 70% disabled. There's 70% of the population that works at Highland Park that has a disability. And I think that's something that we're really proud of as a company. We do not turn anybody away because of disabilities. We challenge ourselves and our management team, how can we help this person? And we pay a fair wage. Every single person that comes in and that works for Highland Park Market is paid our fair wage. They are paid not what the state plan had, you know, available. They're paid what a Highland Park employee would be paid. And that's something that separates us from a lot of different stores, because people do not do that. They take whatever it is that the state has and they'll go by paying like a little bit less money to hire those people. We don't. 70% of, like, and I challenge you to come to our stores to see what it is. I am completely impressed. We have, you know, our meat cutter, we have our meat manager in Manchester is from, he's from England. Our bakery manager is from Puerto Rico. You know, if you think about diversity, we have a lot of diversity at Highland Park Market, and that, like I said, that's changed over the last probably 20 years. But if you come to, I don't know.
So is there a conscious intention around that, or did it happen organic?
So I think there is a little bit of a conscious intention. You mentioned check a box, and a lot. I was talking with a cousin who works for a bank, and she's she works in HR, and they're trying to figure out their whole system. There's a lot of ways you could check a box, and you could look phenomenal on paper when you started looking at these things. But the way we've always kind of got our workforce, and the way it's been happening lately, and why we probably see more diversity, is you find a great group of kids, and then you hire all their friends. And honestly, that's the way we've always gone about our business. And I think, and that's kind of, that's really just kind of how we've grown our current workforce and what we have right now. And I think, you know, it's been, in Manchester, there's no question our workforce in Manchester and our store is more diverse than our two other locations, Glastonbury and Farmington, because it's Manchester, it's who we are, it's what this town is. And we're very proud to be from here, and that's also, when you go back to what my father, he always wanted the Manchester location because he wanted Manchester, and he's kind of ingrained that in us, and I love this town. I spent a year and a half out west. I'm glad I got that out of my system, and I came back to Manchester, but I'm never going to move out of this town. This is my town. And we have a lot of diversity here, and it's phenomenal. But finding those pockets of good kids and trying to hire their friends. And when you're finding those in a diverse community, you're going to get more diversity in the store. So that's kind of how we've done it. And we didn't really go the traditional check a box thing, but it's definitely in the back of your mind these days for sure. And when you find a great group of kids and it's a diverse population, you're going to keep that diversity if you continue to hire the people who are surrounding those good kids. So that's really how we've kind of gone along with this. So.
And then going back to the social media question, I'd say the California thing, our social media, was always big. I think once we were on Family Guy, and in that, my uncle is one of the writers for Family Guy. I talked to him the other night, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty sad when you're 70-something years old and you're telling jokes about farts and you make a lot of money on it, and if that's your business, it's hard to retire. I'm like, okay. But I think that, just engaging with the younger audience, and I think too, like one of the things that we have a company that does it for us, but we respond to things like Tim will say, hey, did you see this? Or, we respond right away. It doesn't matter. That's where I, was talking earlier, 24/7, you have to engage with people. And I think that you can't ever turn off because you need to respond to a Facebook message or an Instagram, whatever it is that we do, we respond to. Really, they monitor it, but then they, hey, this needs attention. And a lot of it is miscommunication. But again, I think the whole image of what Stacey was saying earlier about the Family Guy thing, I think that definitely helped us grow our pages a little bit at the time. But always, social media is always a challenge because it's always changing. And I think that one of the things that with social media and being a grocery store, it's great to put your sale items on there and public yourself, but also tell a story with it. It's important why we buy Bell & Evans chicken. It's important why we sell certified Angus beef, and what is the difference? Fresh seafood. What is top of the catch meat? Like, educate your customers as much as possible, and social media is a great way to do that.
Any other questions? Millie?
Thank you so much for being here. I have a statement and a question. I want to say thank you so much for being such a great partner of the Chamber. You guys have been doing this way before me, right? For many years, so I want to say thank you, and thank you for what you do in the community. My other the question is, how did you start Rebuilding Together?
Oh God.
Or just
Well, I did not start it.
Okay.
I'll say
So
that.
the question's
Okay.
about Rebuilding Together,
Oh,
which
Rebuilding.
is what?
So Rebuilding Together started over 33, we're in our 32nd year now, this year. And it was started by a bunch of concerned Manchester people, such as Steve Casano. It started with Phil Bambera, who's our president, and it started from Notre Dame, right? So Notre Dame was looking for a service project. So not many people know that. So Notre Dame was looking for a service project in the area, and a few different alumni from Notre Dame said, let's bring this to Manchester. So then Steve Casano hears wind of it. So then all of a sudden it's like, we're gonna bring this to Manchester, and we're gonna do it well. So they brought it 32 years ago, and now we're continuing to go on. Rebuilding Together is a couple people, Matt LaRue's here and Danita Sulik, that are on my Rebuilding Together board. And what we do is keep people in their houses as long as possible. So a few years back,
Is it seniors, veterans?
veterans, we try to keep, there's a lot of single moms that we've been trying. There's domestic violence cases we've had this year. We've had, you say it, we've had it, and we've dealt with it over the past few years. Again, especially with COVID changing the way things, we had to get people, we would get calls from ECHN saying, we need to get people somewhere. How can we get these people out of the hospital quick?
So we would go and install handicap ramps, and our turnaround time was 48 to 72 hours, which is completely unheard of. And these people in Manchester, residents of Manchester that lived in their house, we were getting these ramps assembled and up for them so they could come out of the different, whether it was a convalescent home or whether it was the hospital. We tried to get them out of their, out of the hospital care setting as quick as possible. But it started because of them. I just luckily have amazing siblings that are like, okay, well, you volunteered for it in high school. You've been, volunteering it since you came back to Manchester. They, were like, well, would you consider taking over? I said, no. I said no 3 times to do the job because I said, I have a full-time job. I'm like, you guys are crazy. But then when they came, I remember sitting on the hill on rebuilding day one day, and it was, the 24th anniversary. They're like, oh, this is going to go another 25 years because we don't know who's going to take over. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Catholic guilt, right? So that's something that sticks with you forever. So, I had a conversation with my siblings, and my dad was like, well, it's taking care of the community. It's just another level that you can do it. So I don't sleep now because of that decision. But I think it's one of the best things that we have in the town of Manchester. Very lucky that the program has grown and we've been able to help a lot more people. It's because there's a lot more volunteers, more now than ever, and people care about the community of Manchester, which is unlike any other community we've seen.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to say about the store, the future? Any sales you want to share with us?
I think we have to address the elephant in the room. I think one of the biggest miscommunications out there is we bought the property, the Bogner property. We bought the property. So we bought the building, we bought the property, we did not buy the Bogner business. And I think that's one of the things that we just have to get out there, because I think there's a lot of confusion in town, and every time I go somewhere they're like, oh, you're buying Bogners now? And like, we bought the property. So they're wonderful tenants, and they're in there now. They're gonna be there until their lease is up, and you know what, well, if they need, whatever it is, we wanna be a good landlord right now. We still don't know what we're going to definitely do over there. We have labels in storage over there right now. And I think that's the biggest misconception now that we want to get out there publicly, is just to let people know we bought the property, we didn't buy the Bogner business.
And Bogner is planning to move somewhere else.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, right now they have, it's a 20,000 square foot building. There's a 4,000 square foot storefront. So they've been operating that 4,000 square foot storefront for the past few years. The whole back end was a totally separate business, which is now cleared out, which we're starting to just make basic improvements to the building because it's an older building. There's a lot of improvements that need to be done. We are using a little for some dry storage. We've been able to purchase some things at a lower cost. Like Molly said, our labels, we're saving a lot of money by buying those directly. Odd things that you wouldn't really think of, gloves. We go through thousands of gloves a day, so we have those over there in storage. Eventually we're gonna work on that back end, and we'd love to turn it into a production style kitchen so that we can produce for our stores. But that is a huge project that we're going to get into down the road. But for now, yeah, we're working on just building improvements, getting the right amount of exit doors in the back end there, and tightening up some things on the actual physical building, and then just being a good landlord to the guys in the front for now.
And I think that's a good lesson for all the changes, because you have to grow and evolve and have a traditional business like yours that is so now modern and fabulous, but people, they obviously don't like change, and they react and get hostile instead of getting curious and asking a question. So I did go to Bogner's, this is where I get my dog's dog food, and I mentioned something, she's like, why don't people read things? So it's like, it said that right there, but you just see the headline or something and snap to judgment. Kind of thing. So anyways, we've come to the end of our second Business Link. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you who's ever watching for your time and attention, and especially thanks to Highland Park Market for coming here, for sharing your story, for sponsoring meeting space, to supporting the many different diverse things happening in the town, and it really is special. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please enjoy the art. We do have a gift shop on your way out, much like Disney. We filter you out through a gift shop. And it's all local artists, and we like to support artists showcasing and selling their work, and it really is great for unique gifts. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.